Hey guys, welcome back to 99 Everything, the podcast where we aim to maximize every dimension of our lives because we want the best life possible. So today I have a guest. We know each other because we went to the same uni for physiotherapy. I thought she was a good guest because our whole podcast is about maximizing multiple dimensions of our lives, and our guest here is a very appropriate candidate for that. So not only is she a physio, she also is a CrossFit trainer. She's a Pilates trainer. She recently did a CBT course, which we're going to dive into. Personal training courses, and also like knowledge in both musculoskeletal and women's health. So very, very knowledgeable, but we're going to dive into not just like the knowledge, mental stuff, but also physical. She also recently started her physio business. So I guess the more entrepreneurial, financial aspect. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast.
Thank
Georgina.
you. Thanks for having me, Jono. A good chance to obviously chat about all of that, but also catch up. It's been a while. So keen to be on the podcast, and I've listened to the other episodes, which has, been awesome as well in helping me start my entrepreneur journey and growing the business as well. So keen to be here. Thanks for having me.
Man, you're welcome. I don't even remember the last time we caught up. Maybe it was like for yoga or something.
I think so.
Yeah, so
it's been a while.
It's been like 2-3 years. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been really cool to see your whole process of moving now to like your own business. But just to kind of go back to the beginning, why did you decide to be a physio?
So I decided to be a physio, one, because I've always been pretty active and I've always been interested in the human body. So after suffering a back injury myself and a hip injury when I was younger, and just growing up playing sports to be active, I never really felt like my body was nourished. So when I was deciding to go to uni, I just had this calling to study further, and I thought it'd be a perfect time, one, to help myself, but then upon learning about how I could help myself, I thought I can help others. And if I can learn all these things, create the best version of myself, I can use physiotherapy as a tool to reach others, connect, and then help them do the same. So just this whole idea of working with people, helping people, and always been interested in the side of, I guess, personal development. And I thought now that physio is really evolving to be more than just about physical health, it was a great time to get into it.
Cool. Okay. So that's interesting because I decided to do physio too because I hurt myself really bad. And I just wanted the ability to like massage my pain away. But as you develop in your physio career, like there's so much more to just physio. Like most people think physio is like you go in, like you get a massage and then you're out, or you go in and get like ultrasound or some
like passive
machine.
therapy.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people think it's very technician based, almost like, but in reality, physio, there's so much thinking involved. Like people don't realize like we're constantly trying to figure out what's going on, how to phrase it, how to apply it for this particular person. So, I guess it'll be cool for everyone just to kind of see like the behind the scenes. Because, I have people just, they don't realize the actual, because what we learn at uni is not just what we do in practice. There's so much more that we have to figure out just from experience. But cool, so you started out with exercise sports science, right?
That's correct, Went to uni first with sports science, did that, and just thought it was a great chance to go into physio, just more so I could diagnose and then effectively treat. And then studied with you.
Yeah.
Which is where we met. I think we were both doing lots of library sessions, lots of studying.
Yeah.
Stress was high.
Yes. You know what's funny too is I think uni was such a waste of time. I don't think I learned anything. I don't learn anything that I apply now in my practice. So I think uni was good to just meet people. Yeah. Also, I guess develop work ethic. But I almost think if we just shadowed at a physio practice for a year, we would have been sweet.
Yeah, I'm so hands-on, by doing, seeing. I find that's how I really learn and how it sticks. So I wish while I was at uni I worked in a clinic or worked in a private practice where I could get that experience, or even while I was doing sports science, because I feel honestly I did that degree and there was 3 years and I was there's 3 years gone, I didn't really develop my skills practically. And it's ironic because it's exercise and sports science, so it would have been good to just get out there, which is again which I'll tap into why I decided to open my clinic, with the hopes of one day inspiring younger students to then maybe get them into the clinic, help them grow and do things really practically.
Yeah, really cool. So what also got you into this like personal development, self-development space? Because I think that's something I noticed about you in uni. It's like, I think you did a lot of different stuff, like just not just study. Like, I think there's people in our cohort who just study, but it was cool to see the people who had like other aspirations outside of studying, you know? So yeah, I guess what got you into this stuff in the first place?
So I'd say my personal development, if you want to call it that, my journey really started when I went through like a massive life change, like a family change, something like that most people would be like, oh my gosh, it's bad. Something happened, and I just had this thought one day, and it was, you can go down two paths, G. Path one is you turn to alcohol and drugs, and you know, you drink yourself into a spiral, and I was 18 or 19 at the time. Or you take the hard option, which is really get to know yourself, get uncomfortable, get vulnerable with who you are, and learn about yourself. And I was actually lucky enough to then, when I was doing sports science, I had a mentorship in a gym, and my mentor was amazing. He actually said to me, I think you need to read this book, and he handed me How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
And going through that massive life change with my family, and you know, my parents getting divorced and selling our home and losing a lot of stability, I felt like I was this like 18, 19, 20-year-old female, and people wouldn't have been able to see it, but I was so lost. And really spending time making myself, you know, the best version of me, you know, reading the books, doing the work, you know, whether it was journaling, getting uncomfortable, that's the path I went down. And I feel like I'm so blessed to have been inspired by people to help me go down that path.
Really cool, really cool. When you were at the low point, you were given these two paths, like what made you move here? Like what was like a big factor for moving here? Because a lot of people will just go this way.
I think the bigger picture on knowing if I choose we'll call it like the better path or the more optimal path, I can create a life where when I have my family one day, I can provide for them, create amazing things, and then share with others. I just saw something bigger than me. Like I thought to myself, this is not about me. Like I've been gifted this opportunity to help others who are in my shoes and help others. So now I think when someone comes in there in pain, whether it's physical or emotional, I think like, I just straight away think in my head, okay, I've been there, I've been in a low point, I can help you out of that. So I think the best person to help someone is the person who's been there, who's walked that journey. So yeah, I just saw this path greater than myself and an opportunity to provide, and I chose that option.
Cool. So that's like, this gets very spiritual too, because it's like, I feel like if you don't have that extra, we'll call it like not the physical world plane, like it's very easy just to get stuck in like, my life sucks now, so I'm just gonna go fuck it up, right?
Yeah.
Do you know where that came from, like having that thoughts? Like were your parents religious?
Well, growing up I was quite like religious. I grew up, you know, my mum actually was quite religious as well, and she's more religious, but even without realising, I think she's quite spiritual. And my mum's like the most stoic person you'll meet. The world could be falling down and she's like, you got to get on with it. So yeah, I think a lot of it comes from her, and as well, family, and even just going to church as a, you know, younger girl, seeing like structure, discipline, routine. Sometimes Sundays come around and it's 8 a.m. and you're like, oh, Mum, I'm tired. And she's like, no, you know, you promised, or you have that commitment, you're going to be there. And I think just having structure and routine and following that has also influenced where I am today, which I haven't really thought about before.
No, this is
so
cool.
This is, which is cool to think about.
For sure.
Yeah.
And this is why I like talking with like the format of podcast is cool, because you have all these thoughts, but if you don't speak it out loud, sometimes they don't make sense.
100%.
Yeah. So that's the value of conversation, or like even just speaking to friends, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool, because I grew up in a religious home too.
Yeah.
And like looking back now, I think just having that idea of like there's more, it gives you hope, because I think a lot of people, when faced with the same situation, they're like literally like fuck it. You know. So why that's also interesting is because my receptionist, she's studying like law or something, and there's a paper she was reading today, and it was like, how does religion affect like your like ability to socialize and your ability to be ability to succeed in like the economic space. And it's interesting, like I think religion's like it's a bit of a taboo topic, but like there's so many positives, because in that little study too, it just showed that people who are more religious, they're more likely to be generous, and then in doing so, like their business gets better, so yeah, it's cool. It's just like, I think for people who don't have the luxury of growing up with stuff like that, it can just be a downward spiral.
Yeah, and I think my biggest takeaway is, doesn't matter if it's religion, spirituality, like just believing in something bigger than yourself. And I think that also can relate to our clients, right, or patients who come in pain. And like I've had every injury under the sun, and I recently did my syndesmosis, so that's like a really bad high ankle sprain. And like I honestly believe like having that discipline and mindset is what gets you through. Whereas like other times, if you get yourself in a spiral, which I can see, like, it's hard to be in pain, but I don't know, maybe I'm stoic or tough or, too hard, but I think you've got to get through it, and you've got to have that discipline and tell yourself, I can pull myself out of this. Like, you hold the pen to your book and you write the story. So yeah, I think if you can look at the world and see, okay, there's more than just me, and I've got to get through this to serve, you can really come out the other side on anything you apply yourself to.
That's really cool. So let's say you have a patient who's like, but that's you, G, like that's not me.
That happened last week. Happens all the time.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone who's like, I don't even have a mom, or like I grew up in a like really rough area, so they'll call it a valid excuse, right? What would you say to a person like that?
So I always still come with empathy, but the thing I said last week to someone who said to me, like, it's okay for you, you're a physio. And all I said back was, you and I have the same access to education. I know I'm lucky to have done a physio degree. I've got the experience, but you and I have the same 168 hours in the week. You and I both have the same resources, financial access. We both have the same opportunity. You've got a nice roof over your head. You've got, a family that loves you. You and I both have the same supply of information. It's just how we use it. And you and I, we both have the same hours in a week. It's just how you choose to structure your life. I believe we all have a choice. And someone might spend their time and energy and money on one thing, but someone might spend on the other. It's a choice. So I said, your choice lies in what your priority is. And if you can prioritize your health, feeling good, being in the best physical form that you can be, then I think you've done everything you can. Anyways, that was my take. So I'd be keen to see what yours is.
Before I say what I say, like, what do you say then when they say, they're kind of on board, but like, oh, it's hard, I've tried it before, but I can't seem to, every time I do it, I fail.
So my biggest thing is start small. Start with the 1%ers. I've got a whiteboard in my room, right? And I just draw up people, like I say, start with the low-hanging fruits. So even if it's just doing your one rehab exercise a day, or just eating a little bit better, that's a win. Start with that. I say get the ball rolling. Don't try to do everything in a day. I'm not expecting you to, do 10 exercises, do your rehab, hit the gym, go for your 10K steps. Start with something, and then that can get momentum. And I think doing that, like, competence breeds confidence. And, the more you start to show yourself you can do it and that you're competent at something, the more confident you get, the more trust you have in yourself. And that's how you succeed. Yeah.
Like, you're like preaching to the choir. That's literally what I would say, honestly.
Awesome.
It's the little small wins that
100%.
kind of snowballs into stuff. But yeah, like I'm sure like we both get clients like that who come in with like poor self-belief, and that's why they come in to see you in the first place, because they want you to help them. The tricky thing about physio is people expect us to fix them, when in reality we can only guide them, right? So I think what I noticed about you too, which is really interesting, is you are able to be very empathetic but also very stern at the same time. Like you're very kind, but I can also see you be like shut the fuck up, like just do it, you know what I mean? Like the discipline part.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important thing to apply as, let's say, like, we're people who help people get better,
Yeah.
right? You have to understand where they are,
Yeah.
but you also have to like tell them to take action, because
100%.
I'm sure you see physios who are like too nice, like, oh, did you do exercise this week? No. Oh, that's okay. But it's actually not okay, because you're not going to get better. You're actually doing a disservice to your patient,
Yeah.
right? And then you have the ones that are just like, let's say like Adam Meakin style, just like, you
Yeah.
suck, like, no, just do it. And it can help for some people, but some other people feel very disconnected, like, oh, it doesn't really care about me, you know. So I feel like that's the art of physio. It's how do you balancing both.
I think it's important in our profession, like, meet people where they're at, because we're not only in physical therapy, we're in, you know, understanding people, and we work with people, and it's meeting where they're at. And I had a client this week who came in, he's like, look, I nailed my exercises last week, did everything you told me to, and then something really bad happened with my family and work this week, and he's like, you know, honestly, I was terrible. And I was like, all right, let's unpack what went wrong. And he goes, well, I still did all my balance exercises, you know, every hour I did some calf raises, because I just didn't do my whole program. And I was like, okay, you didn't do everything, you did some stuff, what are your barriers next week? He goes, nothing, I can get back into it. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go hard on you.
Yeah.
But if someone's not helping themselves, I'm happy to say, you know,
Like,
do what you need to do, because
Yeah.
I can only give you the tools. But it's definitely, I think, finding that balance between, you know, like you said, being empathetic with people, also showing them and helping them get better and making them do things, but at the same time, like, we're in this industry to help. And, you know, the moment I ever feel like I'm getting burnt out is the moment I feel like I don't want to help. And I know that's when I need a break. You have a break, you come back, you're like, sweet, it's my purpose to help and inspire people, you know.
So on that subject of burnout, because that's something that's very common in the healthcare industry, because we have to help people that don't want to help themselves. And that's a recipe for disaster. How do you personally deal with that? Look, because I think even people who aren't in healthcare will
sure.
Experience burnout. What are your like tips for people who are feeling that or in the midst of it?
So which is like, not everyone can do this obviously. When I opened my own practice, I felt a new sense of inspiration. The reason why is because opening my own business, it was all clients, and, you know, 99% of my clients, well, now pretty much 100% of my clients are people who come to see me. So I'm aligned with people who come because they want to get better. You know, they're not here because they're like, oh, you know, someone told me to come here. They're like, I'm here, you're the person for me, help me, give me the tools. So I think no matter where you are, whether it's working for yourself or someone else, like, aligning yourself with clients who align with your goals and align with you, and you guys work well together, because it's a therapeutic relationship, and relationships require communication, they require trust, openness. And look, it is hard. I've, you know, worked in clinics where you start out, you're new, you've got to see everyone and anyone, and you just have to suck it up and deal with that. So I get it. But I think if you do have the opportunity to align yourself with patients, or, you know, you might really enjoy treating shoulders or hips, align yourself with that. Do what sets your soul on fire. That's a big one. I think that's probably the main thing is, you know, finding your niche area or what you enjoy trading, and do that. Another one will probably be nourishing yourself enough, making sure you're filling your cup. Because I think as a physio, like, even I felt like this last night, and I was chatting to my partner about it, and I called him and I was like, sometimes I just wish I had a physio who was similar to me. Like, my shoulder's really sore today from work, and, you know, I just want someone to treat me and reassure me I'm going to be okay. And it's like, I can take care of myself. I can go book in with a physio. Like, nourish yourself, treat yourself well, take care of yourself. And then that way you feel like your cup's being really filled as well.
Yeah. So I think your first one is a really good point. So obviously not everyone has the same...
luxury.
Yeah, we'll call it luxury. Luxury
yeah. It's a big luxury.
To treat, or like to work. It's basically you have the ideal job, right?
Yeah.
But also I think that shouldn't be an excuse, because you should work towards that then, right? It's not like this was your first job. You grind it out in, like, let's say the harder private practices to be able to have that, you know, to work with your ideal customer.
For sure.
So for anyone, I guess, who is in that burnout period, like, I guess make sure that period is like intentional to move into the type of work you want to do. If you're just working in a shitty job with like no end goal, I think that's when it's like fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to make sure like, okay, this is the hard part, but eventually I will be able to serve like the people I want to serve.
For sure.
We're going to get into the like filling your own cup kind of stuff, because that's literally a big part of 99ing everything is like your health and your mental, emotional, whatever, right? Like, because if you're depleted in one aspect, then you cannot perform at your best self, right? But before we dive into that, I think the cure for burnout is, well, specifically in our profession, it's just being responsible for yourself but not being responsible for the other person. You know, so my responsibility is to be the best physio I can, help this person with everything I can, but if they don't listen to me, like, I can only do so much, right? I'll try my best to meet them at their level, give them the easiest things possible to start adopting, but you just can't help some, like, I don't know, I'm sure you've seen like the work cover CTP patients, the ones that are just in a bad mindset, like they sometimes just aren't ready to get better. So you trying is only going to drain you, you know? So I find for those, like, you have to be able to disassociate to some degree, because I find the people who get really like, what's the word? Anxious that they're not getting the person better. It's like, it's honestly not on you, it's on them, you know? So it's being able to, I guess, see where you are and where they are. Don't get enmeshed together, you know?
Yeah, which is a massive one, which actually brings me back to something I've been saying a lot lately when I've had younger physios approach me, or people that are considering getting into the industry. And I look back, I actually caught up with an awesome friend for lunch today, and we were laughing about when he met me like 2 or 3 years ago. You know, I was working in another private practice, and you know, I'd like literally lose sleep over patients not getting better.
I've done that before too.
Like crying, losing sleep over people, and like someone's like, my back still hurts, but they've gone out and like, you know, squatted 110 kilos the next day or done things, and I would still feel like it was my fault. And I think I let a lot of people put the blame on me, whereas now I'm like, I will give you 110% in my sessions. But something a psychologist once said when he spoke to a few physios, and I was at that talk, he said, you are ultimately the journey, and you are on the journey, you are not the outcome. And I guess this goes for anything in life. You're helping people, like you said, you're giving your all, you're giving them your best, you're giving people little things, but you're on the journey, you're not the outcome and you're not the result, you know? So I think it's up to people to really get those skill sets, get those, like that discipline, and ultimately, like, they've got the toolkit, you just give people the tools. I say that every session, and I set that up from session 1. People come like, fix me, I've heard you fix this person. I'm like, I haven't fixed anyone. I don't fix shit. Like, I'm not a builder, I'm not a carpenter, I suck with that stuff.
Not mechanics.
I'm not mechanic. Actually, I am, not going to lie, I set up my clinic pretty well, but not great at that stuff. But I'm like, you and I, we don't fix people. We facilitate, we guide, we inspire. So I think that's one of the biggest things, not feeling responsible for the outcome, but giving your all on that journey.
So it's very interesting you said inspire, because I just had a different thought, which is not all physios or healthcare professionals practice what they preach, you know? So it's annoying to me when I have a like patient come in and like, they're like, oh, I've seen previous physios and they just gave me like X and Y, yellow TheraBand, whatever, or like just massage ball yourself every day. And it's like, I feel like if this person actually has been injured, the physio has been injured and has treated themselves or has played sports or has done exercise, they would understand like that's not going to work, you know? Yeah. So I think the physios that practice what they preach, they end up helping people better. Like, I almost feel like that should be a prerequisite.
I agree.
You know? Get
as many injuries as you can. And
but also exercise,
and
right?
exercise, move,
Because like, how are you going to actually put yourself in the patient's shoes if you yourself have not experienced that injury, you know, or like the difficulty of going through a rehab journey, you know? Yeah. So, where did I hear this from? It was like, hypotheticals is hypocritical. This guy was saying. So it's like, this comes back to the nourishing yourself part, because the more you take care of yourself and you like set a good example for your patients, they'll be like, oh, this sounds like it's coming from experience, not from what they learn in uni. Yeah. So for you, like, what type of stuff do you do to make sure you are let's just do this.
Yeah.
What do you do for your physical? One thing for your mental, and yeah, let's just do one each.
So I was joking about the injuries. I'm like telling myself no more injuries because there's been too many since becoming a physio. I actually never had an injury besides from growing up with the scoliosis and having that. I never had an injury until I had become a physio.
Right.
Ironic, right?
Yeah.
But coming back to your question, one thing I do for my physical health would be like mindful and move with intent. So moving my body every day and doing it in a way that actually serves my body. So I think after coming from years of like thrashing my body and just moving for the sake of it, or moving to numb, or moving because it would be easier than sitting with myself, now I've really changed how I train. And if it doesn't serve or nourish me or make me a better version, I won't do it. And it has to, just make me feel good. And of course, it doesn't mean an easy session. I train hard. Like, I'm there to get the job done. I'm there to get stronger, fitter, faster. But if it means I'm training silly or training and I know I'm going to get an injury or pushing through pain, that's not respecting my body. So I do that for my body. Definitely movement is medicine. And then one thing I do for my mind, being really present. So I know that sounds pretty like cliche, but I used to, and I still do a bit, but I did like a lot of, I know we talked about meditation in the past, and I used to do a lot of meditation and journaling. And since my sister had her baby, so now I have a niece, she's 10 months old, and since I've been with my boyfriend, so we've been together 7 months, I've had a lot of change in my life, and I have to be a lot more present now. So I find just being with them and being all in has helped me just think clearly, and it's gotten me out of my head, because as a physio, we're very A-type, we overthink everything. But yeah, just being with them, being present. And if I can sneak meditation in there too, I'll say then coming back to some meditation has really, really helped as well. So they're probably my main things.
Cool. What type of like exercise would you do?
So I do a little bit of a hybrid mix. So I love strength training. I love like my squats, my deadlifts, lunging. I do a bit of erg work, so like ski erg, row erg, and I did a lot of CrossFit. So I actually have done my CrossFit level 1, which I love, and I think it's an amazing form of movement. But I find doing that 6 days a week like isn't serving my body at the moment, which again I love. I think it's awesome, but I find doing like 2 or 3 days of that plus the other movements really helping me. I loved running, but I'm not doing that at the moment because of my ankle, so just trying to be patient with that. But yeah, I just love to move and stay active.
Cool. Yeah, like you, and I know you've done yoga.
Yes.
You obviously do Pilates.
Yeah,
so you're definitely like a hybrid athlete, which I think is like it's the perfect like expression of like being holistic, right? You like to dip your toes in all types of physical movements. For me, it's a little bit different. I've gone completely specialized. Like, I really like my bodybuilding. Yeah. Back when like we were going to yoga and all that was when I was more interested in like all types of movements. But I found like it actually didn't like make me happy, because what I truly loved was just like go in the gym and like build on myself through bodybuilding. And I think that's just something you have to experience to really know. But another interesting thing you said is training with intent and training hard, but also not numbing or destroying yourself. So I think especially in bodybuilding culture or gym culture, that's really like common. Like even the memes are like, I'm fighting my demons in the gym and whatnot, And ironically, like I think, well, not ironically, like people just associate gym training to equal injuries. Like a lot of people are like, oh, squats, deadlifts, oh, I'm not sure about that for my back. The thing is, ever since I used to get injured a lot more when I was younger, so a bit flipped the other way compared to you. I would say for the last 4 years, I have had 0 injuries, but it's the hardest I've trained in my life too. And I think the key here is what you said, which is training with intention. It's like you can still train hard and push yourself to a point, but maybe because we're physios, we understand what pain is, and we understand muscular failure, what joints should feel like, muscles would feel like. But I know when to stop because this is not a good feeling, versus I need to push because this is more like that muscular feeling.
Yeah.
So something that I always tell patients, because I realize I take this for granted, which is we know the difference between pain and muscle soreness.
Yeah.
Not people who have no exercise history just think everything is pain.
Yeah.
Like
that's really true.
Doing a wall squat, that's pain.
Yeah.
You know, when we know like you can just push through that, or
Yeah.
plank, you know.
Yeah.
Or then when they do a plank, they start sinking like that, and then they feel it in their back, and they're like, oh, that's just part of the core. I'm part of the exercise, but it's not, right? So
And then people say planks cause back pain, or, you know, if you're not deadlifting with good form, or, you know, if you've never deadlifted before and your back is a little bit sore the next day, people automatically think like, oh, it's going to hurt your back, but it doesn't always mean that.
Yeah. So I don't even know what the fix is. It's like, I guess it's education at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's like when people go into a certain physical activity, they should be primed with like, hey, when you do this, this is what it should feel like.
Yeah.
And this should be what this feels like. When, like you said, a lot of people just go into like CrossFit gym training, and it's like, I don't want to feel anything. I just want to push from point A to point B as many times as I can until like it hurts, you know, until I can't do anymore.
Yeah.
Which is like such a short-sighted way of training.
Yeah.
Like you're definitely not nourishing yourself. You're just, how long can I do this before I break down, you know? So that's really cool that you do those things. Another thing I thought of was like, when you hang out with your niece, I think the really cool thing about, let's say, like babies or toddlers is they're always present. They have like no ability to think or overthink, right? So I notice if I spend time around children, you kind of like get into that, you almost emulate their energy, because they're just like, oh, I see this. They're never like questioning themselves. So look, if anyone is wanting to nourish themselves, just spend more time with kids, right?
I know, that's it. Just kids and dogs.
Yeah, true. Animals are definitely not thinking about what's due next week.
I think as humans, we just think obviously like everything through and overthink, and sometimes that can lead to more problems. You just like get on a spiral. So
I find for me, like, I used to overthink more.
Yeah, me too.
But now it's like, now I just watch it. If that makes sense. Like I can, to the point where I don't even overthink now, because I'm not thinking much. I'm just living my life.
Being, right?
Yeah.
It's like being.
100%.
Yeah.
Because when you stop focusing on it, and you're almost giving it less power, and then after a while you almost don't know how to like overthink in a way.
Yeah.
You've just trained yourself to be very present.
What's the saying, like, where attention goes, energy flows?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like the more you think about something, the more those neurons strengthen and like wire together.
Yeah.
And the more that becomes your reality. And I tell people that. Some people are like, oh, my knee hurts. Will it be better in 12 months? I'm like, 100%. We know based on time frames and healing it will be. And I had a lady be like to me, no way it will be better by then. She's like, I'll just be in pain forever. And the more you think that, that will become reality, because you're not giving yourself another option.
Okay, this is a good segue.
Here we go.
Because I think, so me and Georgina, or G, right? G, have both been interested in like the neuroscience aspect of physiotherapy, and I guess just how it contributes to, let's say, healing outcomes, recovery in general, right? And I think for a lot of people, when they hear like where your attention goes, energy flows, it just sounds like very like woo-woo, like, oh, shut up, okay, cool. But like when there's like so much science that's grounded in that, because it's literally like neuroplasticity, right? Which is basically, this is what I tell patients when I try to illustrate this. It's like, imagine you're on a bushwalk and there's like two paths. One path everyone walks on, so it's like all the grass has been trodden down, like they've macheted out all the branches and whatnot, and then this is like a new path that is completely not touched. So right now, you've been in pain for, let's say, 6 months, so you've just been completely, this path you've just done so many times. Now we have to try to get you to forge a new path of healing. But the thing is, your body doesn't want to take energy to create a new path. It always wants the path of least resistance, right? So we teach them, like, you know, that's why it's going to take time and effort to kind of like get out of pain, because your body just doesn't want to do hard things, you know. So in saying that, like, the more times you're like, oh, my knee's going to be fucked forever. Like, you're literally priming your body to like go down that path, you know. And then this goes like full like down the rabbit hole, because it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then all the decisions you make based off that thinking now formulates all the decisions you make, and then you probably just are a bit more lazy. You don't do exercise as well because you've already assumed it's not going to get better, you know. So it just goes to show, like, physiotherapy is so much psychology in a way.
Oh yeah.
And I've had people, like, for me, I didn't think I could do the best job I could as a physio if I did not look at this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because I remember treating some people work cover, and they had back pain. I was just like, oh, that's easy. Just strengthen the glutes, strengthen the core. Gave them exercises and they'd still be in pain. And I'd be like, huh? Like, why is this not working? This is literally like mechanical. Like, you get these structures strong, how should there be pain? And then I'm sure, like, you can talk about it too. Like, you start to realize what their thoughts, their beliefs, their attitudes towards pain, or like things that are going on in their personal life can be the cause of that pain. And it's not even like the physical part. So yeah, what's been your experience with, like, I guess we call it the psychosocial aspect of physio? Yeah, how do you normally deal with patients like that?
So I chose.
How did you get into it, by the way? How did you even get into that stuff?
I did a diploma of cognitive behavioural therapy last year. I was like, I'm already doing like a course on breath work and, you know, the lumbar spine to the back. I was like, oh yeah, I might as well just do another course. Anyone that knows me, you remember me at uni, I'm always studying. I'm the biggest nerd. But I was like, yep, I'm going to do this course. I feel like I'm really struggling to understand like my patients and where they're at, especially the ones that aren't getting better. But I think, yeah, I'm similar to you. Like, I just thought, okay, I'm not going to be the best physio or the best practitioner or clinician until I can understand the full person and understand where they're coming from, how they think. So that sort of pushed me into learning more, reading more. And then after doing the diploma of cognitive behavioural therapy, which really is like focusing on mindfulness, right? That's when I found I could apply some of those skills that I learned and then like aid and help patients in getting better. But yeah, I just think when I found, similar to you, when I noticed, okay, you know, a really, really strong looking person walks into my room and they've got, you know, a six pack and strong glutes, why are they in so much agony, right? They're doing all the right things. It's past experience. It's, you know, lived beliefs, stresses, anxiety. It's, you know, what happened last time they hurt their back? Are they anxious about a competition? How's their sleep? So I think being able to confidently talk to people about it and not being scared to say, like, how's your sleep at the moment? How's your stress? That's what helps people get better. Because, yeah, like biopsychosocial, you know.
Do you want to explain what that is?
So I guess biopsychosocial, that's the model, you know, we're now trying to move towards as physios. So the idea is that we're no longer saying that pain is purely physical. So if you have back pain, you might go to a GP and say, doctor, my back hurts. They might get an MRI done or order an MRI, and an L5 disc bulge, so that's the disc in your back, may show up. And they'll say, Jono, the cause of all your pain is your L5 disc. But if we're not looking at the other two aspects, which is the psychological and social, and it's saying that our beliefs, our social support, and our physical influence our pain, not just one or the other. And I've also had the experience of someone with persistent back pain coming into the clinic and saying, I saw a physio. I told them I've had back pain for 10 years and they told me it's all in my head. And I assessed their range. They had poor range of motion. They sit all day. I'm like, no. Yes, you're emotional and you've got all these things going on. Yes, you've got mechanical things. And yes, you have no social support. You need to work on all three to get better. So I think, again, coming back to that thing of meeting people where they're at and addressing just beyond the physical is so important, but not neglecting the physical.
Yeah, for sure.
But also recognizing that, yeah, it's more than just a disc bulge that can cause pain.
Like the people who are just like, it's in your head, then they're just as bad as the pure bio people, you know? So
Yeah.
like, it's a bit of a mind fuck because like, it's all about everything. And this podcast is 99 everything, right? Like if we can improve their health, like physical health, if we can improve their psychological health and improve like their relationships and like social life, I feel like when someone is like very maximized in all three of these domains, like I'll be surprised if they're injured or in pain, you know? Like they're just so regulated in all aspects. What is like your approach when let's say you someone's come in and let's say it's lower back pain okay, let's use neck pain. I think a lot of people these days are working from home, so we're seeing a lot of neck pain people. They've had it for like 3 years and they come and see you, like, and let's say you've assessed that physically it's not great but it's actually decent, and let's say you've figured out there are some things about them that is like, maybe they're already coming, they're a bit anxious, they're a bit like, body language is like this, like what's your approach? Because a lot of people, they're coming in to expect a massage, and if you're going to throw this psychological stuff on them, they're going to be like excuse me, like what is this, you know? What's your approach to like adding that stuff in and helping them understand?
So I'd say the biggest thing is just coming back to our role as a physical therapist. I guess they think that it's purely physical, so we'll still address the physical aspects, but I even would just draw on my whiteboard or, you know, draw out the upper traps, and I'd say, okay, let's say, give a name, okay, Jono, you've come in today with neck pain, and after testing your range, we can see you've actually got decent range of motion, but I can feel that when I'm pressing on your neck, you're saying, oh, that's really tight and sore. Now, I believe that a lot of this is coming from tension from work, because you've mentioned that you've got a really stressful job, you're not sleeping, you know, your home life sucks at the moment, you're not getting any support. And these emotional and stressful factors are now creating tension in your body. So you're telling me your goals and expectations today are some hands-on. Let's do that for you. So we've done 15 minutes of chatting and assessment. We'll do 15 minutes of hands-on. You love dry needling, great, let's do that. And then we'll spend the last 15 minutes going through some breath work, down regulation strategies, and talk about what's really going to help get to the root of your problem. And I just tell people the hands-on's just a window to get you the best possible outcomes with the stuff you're doing at home, or with the exercises, or with the breathing. So I like to think, if we can at least give people that little bit of hands-on, create that connection, deregulate, like down-regulate, the nervous system, and then really educate people, that'd be my sort of treatment and how I treat.
Yeah, cool. Like, I'm not so different from what you do when it comes to like those chronic pain patients. Like, we give them the manual therapy stuff because that's the expectation, but then we use it as like hey, by the way, like, how's your sleep? Like, how's work like, you know? And I think also when you ask those questions, they kind of appreciate it, because maybe the other physios they've seen just don't really get into that stuff.
It's like, oh, your upper traps are so tight, like,
I need to work your lower traps.
Really could just be like, they've never worked the upper traps, they're chronically weak, they haven't done any exercise, they need to get back to the gym, they hold their tension there, like, the upper traps aren't always the demon.
I've even read something really cool recently, which is why you want to like take sitting breaks, not just for your body but for your eyes, is because they're at a screen for a very long time. You're doing this like motion for your eyes called convergence, which is focusing on this, but humans were evolved to have convergence and divergence, which is to look far, to look at like, you know, potentially like a lion coming to run at you, like, do I see a threat? So the thing is, when you're always looking close, you will create tension and you will stir up like the central nervous system, because you're not also allowing your eyes to like do the other functions. So like there's so many different causes for it, and if you just focus on like the muscles, you're really doing your patient a disservice. Like, you have to look at them completely holistically.
100%.
And I find the most satisfying like wins is when the client gets that, and then not only does their like physical pain improve, but like the whole mindset starts shifting. That's like the most satisfying part of physio for me, because
For sure.
I guess for you too, like typically the people who do have the chronic pain, they're normally not the happiest people. They have like a poor affect. They're typically pretty negative people. So to help switch them out of that, you're impacting them on multiple levels.
Yeah, big time, big time. And then like they're happier, they feel better. And I think, like you said, really good point. If you're not educating right, and you're not telling people like, all right, your neck pain isn't because you have these like tight muscles, you know, and you're actually saying to them it's from tension. You're looking at your screen, you're sitting all day. Like, if I look at the screen for 8 hours, my neck would hurt too.
Yeah,
like,
I told them I'd be the same
like
as
you're
you.
looking down like this, there's so much load on your neck. You know, we can't obviously escape biomechanics, but if you're not educating, these people will be back every week. And while some people may think, oh, great for business, for me, that's the least satisfying thing I can do. I want my patients better. I want them discharged. I want them feeling amazing. And I want them to have that toolkit of resources. So they come back either for a tune-up or for something different. Or even better, they're like, I'm going to refer my husband or wife to you. So I think it's like, if we treat ethically, you'll never be out of business.
Most definitely. So that like that's exactly the way I look at it too.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, there are physios out there who they treat their patients maybe to like 90%, just for them to come back. So they have to keep like yeah. I think in your context, tune up is slightly different, but a lot of these
I have
guys,
a lot of CrossFit athletes or bodybuilders who are like, I've got comp, I need dry needling, like they're high level, like they've got massive comps, they train 3-4 hours a day, they have to push.
So yeah,
it's a bit different.
Definitely different. But like for example, some chiros, their model is just like maintenance treatment, and then they just see people like every week. When in reality, if you get them to a point that is higher than baseline, they should be able to manage all their life duties and stresses without any issues, right?
100%.
But it's cool. Let's like talk about like business stuff then, because I agree too. Like, if you just get someone really good and you blow them away, they're just gonna want to refer all their friends and family to you anyway.
Yeah.
What's been your experience like starting your own thing? Like, where did that come from, first of all, and how's the experience so far?
So yeah, it's been an absolute dream. I feel pretty blessed and lucky to say that. It's been almost 3 months, and next week it will mark 3 months since opening my own clinic.
Nice.
And yeah, it's just been the best. In all honesty, I've always wanted to do it. I still remember being like 5 or 6 years old, and I used to, you know, create little pamphlets and brochures and try to sell things to my family. And I think like the entrepreneur was always in me.
Cool.
And even from a young age, I'd always be like thinking about, okay, how can I, one, have like financial freedom, but two, like create a life that I love. Like even being a young age, the idea of like sitting in school, even though I loved learning, the idea of like being indoors, being trapped, like working a 9 to 5, it honestly like scares me. So I was like, no, I'm going to create a life. One day I'll be a business owner, run my own business, like create a name for myself. And yeah, here we are. So I think it's just always been in me. I think doing things really ethically is what inspired me as well. Like you said, the whole idea of like getting people on some like maintenance program when they don't need it, or rebooking when they don't need it, doesn't really sit with me. I'll only encourage it if I think someone needs it. And I believe like having my own business gives me a chance to treat as ethically as I can, because I'm treating how I want to treat and what I think's right. But yeah, I just think it's always been in me. I've had that fire in me, and when the opportunity arose, I was like, yep, it's the time. I feel like I've been out of uni long enough now to have the skill set and experience. I've seen enough. I've seen different things. You know, I've worked rurally, worked in the hospital system. I've worked in multiple private practices. So yeah, it was time. And I'm loving it. I feel like it gives you an opportunity to, one, like connect with community, but also like create a culture, which seems a bit crazy because it's just me working on my own. But I feel like as a brand, my business has a good culture, and that will extend like when I start hiring, which hopefully I'm not far off, my employees will have that same culture and they'll have the same, you know, dreams and ideologies as I do.
I've been really into business stuff too recently. because I do like my online coaching thing on the side now too, and I'm trying to grow that too. But I read somewhere that a business is pretty much you bringing value to the world. That's literally what it is. Like you help people and they repay you. Like it's the most simplest, like if you break it down to like, I guess, a very philosophical level, it's like they find you valuable, you know, so you're doing something that is contributing to the positive side of society. So like to start a business, I think is it's part of self-development. You're literally extending like your own values, your own beliefs, and you want to put it into the world and help people the way that has helped you. So it's really like this guy that I follow, that he breaks, because business can sometimes sound like, oh, money, finance, blah blah blah, all that stuff, but he breaks it down in a way that's very like philosophical and spiritual. Like it's like you're it's greater than you. You're helping like all these people and all that, and it makes it more powerful. Like what you're doing is like it's more than money. Like yes, obviously money is important, but you're doing something for yourself and the world.
And money flows when you do that. Like if you're caring for people, you're getting them better, they then refer, you know, their family, their friends. The money comes. Like being open 3 months, I haven't once thought about the money, but it flows. And I think something else that led me to opening the business, like everything happened pretty quick. I went from being in a like full-time job to then opening a business within 2 months, like and then after signing the lease within a month, like I was open for business in a moon boot, like on crutches, hobbling around. So it all happened pretty quick. But I remember being Christmas shopping and I was in Dimox and I was looking for a new book to read, and I was going through the business books and personal development, and I'd read all of them. And I said to myself, okay, the next book, either like I'll write my own or I need to now create and contribute back. And I'm not saying I've learned it all. I have so much to learn. But I was like, it's time, because I've spent time reading these books. I've read every book under the sun in this shop. And I'm like, what's next? Okay, it's my turn now to create back and share with the world what I've learned and had the gift of. So yeah, a good self-reflection moment in Dimox over Christmas was great. And it was like, no, it's time to do it.
That's essentially what your business is too, is you're now creating something to put into the world. And I think in the process of self-development, there comes a point where you stop being like a consumer and you just start creating. And I feel like maybe we're both on that path now. Like I feel like, because the thing is, while you are creating doesn't mean you stop learning.
You never stop learning.
And you actually learn a lot just by creating, because you see what helps people and then what doesn't help people, and you are constantly like, what's the word? Cleaning up the way you are creating, for example. And that is a process of learning itself. But for sure, like there's so many people that out there that would want to learn and be served by people who have the knowledge. So it's not helpful just being here. Like it has to be like spread to the world, right? So like that's the way I see it too now. It's like just keeping knowledge to yourself, or keeping all your learnings to yourself. It's a bit of a waste, you know. There comes a point where we should just start to give that out, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think are the 3 books that change your life the most?
Definitely going back to what I mentioned before, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was a big one. I just loved the idea of learning about people, like sociology, and that definitely like kicked off my personal development journey for sure. So that's probably one of the 3. You Are the Placebo, Joe Dispenza, going into like neuroscience, neuroplasticity. That really helped me understand myself and further understand others. And then the 3rd one I'd say was Daring Greatly, Brene Brown. Yeah, love that book.
Solid list.
Yeah. So they're my top 3 on a very big bookshelf.
Cool.
What about you?
My top 3. I definitely have one that has changed the way I looked at health forever, which is When the Body Says No by Gabor Mate.
Yeah, great book.
Once I read that, like you can't unsee it, which is pretty much like, I think this is really valuable for everyone, which is, let's say you got sick. Let's say you got sick, most people were like, oh, it's probably because I like drank too much the night before, or like I didn't wear a jacket the night before, right? But we've been talking about how the mind and the body, they're just so interconnected, and sometimes what the book essentially says, it's helpful to also evaluate, like, yesterday did I have like a big argument with my partner and now I feel stressed and then my immune system has gone down. Did I neglect confronting like a coworker who has been treating me poorly, and it's like all these things that happen in your day-to-day, like every single interaction you make can be hurting your health, and you not expressing your emotions properly, you being angry all the time, or like just the way you express emotions, or like how you handle your emotions, it can really fuck you up. Like,
big time.
I forgot exactly the statistic, but it was like women who tend to not speak up in their marriages were more likely to get breast cancer, and men who were also more held up their emotions would end up getting testicular cancer. And it's like all this crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
And
the body keeps score.
Same kind of like area,
Same
which
concept,
which is just like the mind can just cause the body to have symptoms. And everyone knows like shingles, which is like, it comes from stress, but they don't realize how all these other diseases can contribute to can stem from like a poor mentality or whatnot. So that's definitely one of the number one books. Man, that's if I can only think of one. That's like
Perfect.
Honestly my favorite.
That's
book.
like worth 3 books.
Yeah.
That book, yeah, it's great. If anyone hasn't read it,
I think another really good one, now that I thought about it, is the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Have you heard of that
I
one?
haven't read it. No.
I think you'll like this one.
Okay, I'll add it to my list.
Yeah.
When I have 5 minutes between.
Yeah, for sure.
No, for sure.
He's basically like, he's made it. He's like an investor, but why I like his book is because he starts with mind, he starts with happiness, then health, then wealth.
Yeah.
When a lot of people go the other way, they make a lot of money, then they're like, oh, my health's shit now, I'm going to take care of my health, but I'm still not happy, and then they try and figure out happiness. So he likes to go the other way. So the book's not just about like philosophy and spirituality, it's also like how to be healthy, and also like how to be like, I guess, wealthy. Like, what are the like financial things that he's done in his life? So he's kind of like a 99 everything like, kind of thing. He's happy, like you can see how he looks. He's just this happy dude, but he's like loaded. So it's pretty cool to see.
Living the dream, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the thing, like you said, when you're happy, the rest just falls in place. Like when you are the best version of yourself, you can show up to work. You can make more money. Like when I started my business, everyone was like, oh my God, like touch wood. I feel like now I've jinxed myself, but people were like, what about sick leave? You're not going to get paid. I was like, I'm not going to get sick because I thrive and I look after my body, and I'm going to do everything I can now to make sure like I show up to work every day. But loving my body and making sure I'm in the best state, ready to go in 6 days a week. And when I need a break, cool, take it. But yeah, just making sure you've got the tools you need and looking after your body, because when you can do that, you're unstoppable. Perfect
segue, because my next question was pretty much, because I know you're a high achiever. I think we're similar in that aspect. How do you because I don't know if you've heard me talk about this. I don't believe in balance per se. I believe in like, there's seasons of your life where you go hard in one thing. Like if you want to be like the best version of yourself, you're not just like, okay, I'm just going to walk 3 times a week. I'm going to do my 9 to 5. I'm going to like see my friends on the weekend. You want to like max out all these things, right? But in order to do that, obviously there's going to have to be sacrifice. There's going to be times where you're just working hard, like you can't see, you just can't see your friends as much. How do you personally manage this like high achiever lifestyle?
Okay, I think the biggest thing is I think about balance like a continuum. So like ebbs and flows. So I'm like you, I don't want to be at this like middle mundane point where I'm like, because if you think about balance means 0, right? Like you're evenly balanced, but like there's highs and lows in life. You're never going to be at one point. You're coasting, you're up or you're down. Things happen. You're going to have a busy week, a quiet week. So I think how I manage is like similar to you, like knowing that there's going to be busy times or busy periods or big weeks where you're grinding hard. I think, even looking back on opening the business, I was still at my other job. I'd just done my ankle 5 days before opening. I was still fixing the room, trying to paint. I was on crutches, and I was like, life's not really that like rosy right now. But in 3 months, when my ankle's better and the room's set up, it will be. So just push through. Like, I think if you're looking for the easy way out, you're never going to thrive. Like, get okay with being uncomfortable. Eat the shit for a little bit. It's okay. You're not going to die. But then knowing that when you work hard, there's something on the other side of that. Like, it's okay. And I think balance is so dynamic. Like, I think it can exist, but it's not this static 0 point. It's what you make it. So, yeah, I think like, yeah, looking back, probably same as you, I look back at my life of when we were doing masters or when we were at uni and when I was at uni for those 5 years. If you looked at my life, there was no balance. I had 3 jobs. I was at uni studying on placement. I was doing 80-hour weeks, but I told myself, okay, one day I'll be a business owner and, you know, I'll have what it's worth. So I think sometimes not being afraid to grind it out and then pushing when you need to push and yield when you need to yield and take that break, it's all going to be okay.
And this is the mind fuck. It's like,
yeah,
you have to, in a way, it's like you have to have a balanced mentality
correct.
to do that. Because most people are like, if I want to be like a business owner, I just have to destroy myself. If I want to be chill, I'm just going to do nothing.
No.
But you have to be able to have this, you don't want to have this all or nothing mentality, right? Just like your patient before, he was like, oh, I didn't do all my exercise. Oh, I did some of my exercise, but not the whole thing. But you still did something, you know, it's still a positive. So by having that mentality, then you understand, look, yeah, like you said, there's times I have to just push hard. I feel that it's a lot now. Maybe I need to relax a bit. You just have to keep being okay with moving on that, like you said, ebb and flow on that line.
Pendulum, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, those weeks, maybe you're not going out on the weekend as much. You're having a bit more time for you know, whether it's you pull back, you do a yoga class instead of doing a CrossFit class. Like, yeah, knowing that, I like that. Like, it's a balanced mentality. Not
to be unbalanced.
To be unbalanced. Yeah, for sure. I believe that. Like, I think knowing it's okay to be unbalanced is what makes you balanced.
Wow, yeah.
I believe that's the truth. Like, life's not perfect. Even people who I've been treating, they come in, they're like, when's the perfect time? Now. There's no perfect time. Life's always going to throw you shit. You don't know what's around the corner, but just knowing, yeah, life's not perfect. The best time to start is now, and just give it your all. We think very similarly. So if people like you from this podcast, yes.
I'm sure like your people that know you will also be listening in. But if they want to look, if they've been dealing with an injury and they feel like they haven't been getting better, and they're like, holy shit, like I feel like I could get a lot of help from G, like where can they find you? Like where's your new clinic now?
So I'm in the Inner West in Drummoyne on the beautiful Bay Run in Sydney. So nice water view, above a CrossFit gym, which is awesome. And yeah, my Instagram is Georgina Claxton Physio, which I'm sure you'll tag as well. But I think, yeah, I just offer like a bit more of a holistic, which I know, Jono, you do the same thing, like quite holistic. And yeah, like we're here to serve others and that's our purpose. So yeah.
Mad. And the final question that I ask all the guests is, we kind of answered it like a minute ago, but like, why do you think it's important to 99 all aspects, not just one?
We're here for one life. Give it your all. I think the reason why it's so important is when you show up and you can give everything, you know that no stones left unturned, you have no regrets, and you can put your head on the pillow at night and know you've given it your all, you're satisfied where you are, and then you wake up the next morning with hunger, and then you go to bed satisfied. And I think the reason why I give 99 to everything is because I don't want to go to bed hungry. So yeah, I want to go to bed satisfied, wake up hungry the next day to achieve more and more. But yeah, it's just having that purpose and that drive is why I give it all.
It's a good life, honestly.
It's a great life.
It's fun.
It's fun because you're always growing, you're always learning, but you're happy where you're at and you know there's more to come.
Once again, it's a balanced mentality. It's not like I'll be happy when I'm there. Like you're already happy, but you're not comfortable either. It's like a very dualistic mentality.
100%. Like I'm like, oh, I'm so happy where I'm at. I'm loving it. It's the best. Let's next?
Do more. Yeah.
So like, when's the next clinic going to open? When am I going to open a bigger space? What's next?
Hell
which
yeah.
I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Watch this space.
Hell yeah. 5 years time will be
Yes.
crazy. Cool. So thanks for being on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, if you enjoyed the pod today, give it a like or a review on Spotify, and then on YouTube, give it a comment or a like too. But we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.